It recently dawned on me that the last 3 films I've ranted on about predominantly focuses on testosterone-filled flesh vessels beating the shit out of other manly men, so this time around I've opted to review a movie about Abigail, a ballerina who gets abducted by a group of people in the name of collecting a hefty ransom from her rich-as-fuck father. However, unbeknownst to her kidnappers, Abigail is a vampire, so naturally the capturers have to find a way to kill her before she plows through them like a coked-up mold board. Those who end up attending a screening of Abigail will do so with the desire to see the titular character partake in some vampiric escapades, and it gladdens me to inform you that such desire will be fulfilled. But you must embrace patience first, as our blood fiend doesn't show her fangs until the 109-minute runtime begins to flirt with the halfway mark. I understand that creative elected to do this for the sake of giving you plentiful time to form an emotional attachment to the future victims before their inevitable demise, as well as welding a whodunit element to the off-screen deaths. Unfortunately for creative, all efforts were condemned to futility months before release because of how the film was marketed. Even disregarding the poster playing spoiler by depicting our antagonist in a blood-stained ballet tutu, the trailer revealed Abigail's true form right off the bat, thus abolishing the aforementioned whodunit element, and if you watch said trailer with a slightly analytical eye, it's easy to decipher who's destined for a lethal love bite. As a result of these indiscretions, you spend the opening 50 minutes of its duration waiting for the movie to catch up. Also, the energy spent on trying to have you connect to characters with fate that's all but confirmed is akin to me attempting spiritual bondage with my jizz sock after I continue the mission to make it so solid that it'll be able to function as a flail head. When the movie finally hits its stride, it does so with the grace of a competent and mildly hungover gazelle. The action isn't amazingly choreographed, but it's thoroughly entertaining. I enjoyed how Abigail's ballerina skills are incorporated into her fighting style, and the weapons used were varied enough to maintain interest. The violence itself wasn't on the level I anticipated, considering its 18 rating and the fact that Abigail's powers are practically limitless, resulting in potential for extremely imaginative kills that simply didn't occur, which I found quite surprising, especially when you factor in that the film was helmed by the minds that brought us Ready or Not and Scream 6. With that said though, what it lacks in brutality, it compensates for in gore. Seriously, if you're horny for hemoglobin, you'll leave the screening with metaphorical post-nut euphoria. In layman's terms, there's blood fucking everywhere, and I wouldn't be shocked at all if Kensington Gore rinsed its $28 million budget so hard to the point where there was barely enough left over to afford a Happy Meal and for each name featured on the end credits to have a go on your mum. Alicia Weir puts on a stellar performance as Abigail. Despite not matching up to her colleagues in terms of stature, she has the strongest screen presence by miles and claims every scene she participates in, all of which is achieved in a genre unfamiliar to the 14-year-old. MVP badge well earned. The rest of the cast do what they can with the basic bitch roles bestowed upon them. Honestly, no contribution warrants negativity, but if I were to nitpick, I'd critique that in the dying embers of the final third, one of the actors decided to exaggerate the fuck out of their dialogue deliverance, which slayed any credibility established. The cinematography was mid, as were the jump scares. The comedy aspects were on point, but often didn't synergize with the combat sequences. The music is uninspiring and mostly forgetful. It felt like composer Brian Tyler, whose discography admits a fuck ton of scores that could only be described as absolute bangers, really phoned it in here and produced a soundtrack that in terms of eradicating silence shows the same level of justification as me altering my liver's stability to feel more comfortable with the concept of mirrors. As I was proofreading this transcript, I realised that the comments I've said about Abigail are mostly negative, but overall I did enjoy the movie. I just wish it was advertised differently, because if that were so, it would have been a much better experience. Anyway, I have absolutely no idea when my next film review is going to grace the internet, as Beltane recently passed at time of talking, meaning the spring episode of the Barely Banter podcast is more overdue than my cock making Hikaru Shida's cunt look like a written-off kayak.